Hello and welcome to Enduring Journey to Bliss. My name is Deanne and I wanted to take a look at this orchid. She is recovering still. She got dried out a little too dry and it caused a little bit of damage on her roots. And she is recovering at this point. But I wanted to show you, she did get a let's see if we can get that. Her bloom did open, or it's opening. And she does have more buds on the end of this spike here. So she'll continue, hopefully, to open those. And she had this older spike that I did not remove. However, at this point, I am going to remove it because I'm not sure if you can see that. I will take this off. So this spike, I'll spin this a little bit. It does have a green growing area right there. However, everything else that leads to that is brown, as you can see. Hopefully that's coming through on the video for you. And I'll spin it again. If you look at the spike that still has the green tip, it is kind of discoloring. And the actual growing tip, if it will focus, is actually beginning to look dried up. It's not going to focus well. Maybe if I do this. There we go. You can see how it's beginning to kind of have a dried look to it. And so the plant is trying to keep this growing. And what that's doing is pulling energy from the rest of the plant. And again, this is discoloring. This is beginning to look a bit shriveled and dried up. And the whole rest of that spike is brown. So instead of taking resources and energy from the plant that's growing a new leaf here, and that is growing some new roots down in its container, I'm going to go ahead and remove that spike. That way, any energy it's trying to expend on this tiny little bit of life, it will stop doing that. So I'll put you back up here. And as always, I sanitize my clippers before I put them on any new plant. I use my isopropyl 70% alcohol. And I always use a little cotton swab, which I just tossed in the trash, so I'm not going to take it back out. But anyway, so I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come pretty far down on this spike. Let's see here. I'll have to move you so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to come all the way down where it connects. Actually, I think I'll come up to here, just above that node. Snip it off and put that back down in there. So now this definitely dried up older spike that was attempting to do some new growth is now pulled off, and any energy that was being expended for this green growing tip that's still kind of hanging on is now going to go back into the overall orchid's health. So I'll toss this in the trash here beside me. And so this one, like I said, it had ended up dropping quite a few of its velamen. And so I remove the velamen, I keep the roots, clean them up the best I can, because I think that these roots, even though they're velamen-less, there's no velamen on them, I think they can still pull some nutrients, possibly. I could be wrong. I'm not a botanist. I'm not in the horticulture field, but that's why I leave them. Eventually I will cut them off. But if a root is still viable, it is not squishy, it is firm, then I leave it. And this one is still green from when I watered them the last time. And so is this one. Nice and green, healthy. So those are two very healthy roots on it still. This one is like an air root. That's why it's got the silver look to the majority of it. And it's almost time to cut this stem because, as you can see, the crown is all the way up here at this point, and I've got all this old stem below that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that with all of you right here today. I did notice on this little plant that she is attempting to give me a spike. A new spike right there. Right there. And a spike, it kind of looks more almost like, a mitten, I guess, is, I think about a mitten. Whereas a new spike, excuse me, a new root, the way that they grow, they are more pointed and sticking out. See if I have any new. No, I don't have on here that I can show you that, but I want to go ahead and remove this. This is old leaf. And if I can do that, I might not do that because I do not want to hurt that new spike. So I may not take any more than just a little bit of that off. Nope, it's not coming easy, so I'm not going to force it. But I will do is I am going to go ahead and cut this off. I'm going to cut because this is just like excess. The base and the crown of the plant is all of this up in here. And this down here, most of the roots are gone anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and come all the way down to here. And I'm just going to snip that off. So then if we look where I snipped, you can see that it's brown. If I had snipped too high, then I'd be cutting into green crown up in this area. All up in here. Maybe crown's not the right word when it's that far down on the growing base, but it would be green, not brown. But you see how that's brown? So that's not going to cause any harm at all. To remove this, I will set her in here so I don't. No, she doesn't want to sit quite yet. Put you like that, sweetheart. So yeah, so this, and this was the old spike I just cut off. And all of this was just excess from the old end of the growing base to where I cut it. It wasn't really doing anything viable for the plant any longer. So this will go in the trash. Right here at the side of my table. I keep my trash can when I'm working. And then this, I do like these orchid pots. I think they're very nice looking. But because of the way that I water, I have this vessel that I have inside of it, which I need to go clean. But I will do that as soon as I stop this video. But what I will do is I'll take these roots, these viable roots that are still on it. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can bring that. And those are kind of long roots. I may need to go with another vase at this point, another container at this point. So I'm going to pause the video on this one. Be right back. Okay, I went ahead and I grabbed a glass vase, which has got a much taller area. And I will put the drier one in first. Kind of cup these and direct them all down into their new container. So there we go. So now that can set in the new container. I did notice on here some new root growth that I did want to show you so you can see the difference. So here is the new spike that's attempting. Oh, come on. Right there is the new spike that's attempting to grow, thinking about growing. And right here, that is what new root growth can look like. And on the other side, right over here, that is new. And that's actually a good, let me take it back out of the vase, out of the container. So here, that is a root trying to push through, and that is the spike. So hopefully you can see the difference on those. I'm going to go ahead and set her back in her new container. See if I can get all those roots to go down in. And I will pause for just one moment. All right. So I went ahead and I removed that old brown. It was this that was growing or still on the stem, the base of the orchid there. And now you can see that spike better. And you can see how that's growing. And it kind of looks like a mitten. And then if I spin it over here, this gray-green, that is a new root. And this mitten looking, or however you want to call that, that, come on, focus, is a new spike. Now that spike might not do anything. The orchid might pull the energy back into the crown of the plant. It's hard to say, but it's there, so it could possibly do something. Yes, and this one, it has not fully opened, but it's quite pretty little blossom there. And this is a very healthy spike still. I do not know why it decided to curve like that, but I don't question the plants. I let them do what they want to do. There is more buds forming on the growing tip there. And so this plant, I have cleaned it up. I think it's in better shape. And I've got a new growing vessel for it. So I will actually put it back into the little orchid pot, the ceramic orchid pot. It helps to kind of keep them a little bit more stable, in my opinion. Especially when it has a spike that's growing out and around like this one. I don't want it to knock over on itself or anything like that. So I see signs of new growth on this orchid. The spike I showed you, the new buds forming on the end of the current spike. And actually I'm seeing right here, which probably is not going to focus for you, right? Let's see if I can get my hand to cover that. So right here, at that node, there's a tiny little, what might be a secondary spike beginning to form at that node. Hopefully that's coming through. The tip of my shears are right where that new growing point is at. Whereas these up here, these are new buds. These are new buds. That may end up being a secondary spike on this other spike. So we'll see. Time will tell. But I just kind of wanted to show that. It's all just kind of part of orchid care and upkeep. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove this aerial root. It's not doing anything for the plant. I'm just going to remove it. And There is a little bit here that I want to remove. Just kind of part of plant cleanup and maintenance. So that's off. And I will go ahead and put her back on her space on the growing shelf. And I'll provide updates. And the new leaf is looking quite healthy. So y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks for visiting. And one last shot of her blossom that is not quite opened all the way. Take care. Thank you.